Inside this box, which arrived yesterday, is the Indiana Jones Roleplaying Game. The box is in great shape, a little bit of crushing around the corner, so I was, curious, concerned that maybe something had happened to the box inside, but as soon as I opened it, I began to relax. The packer took great care and some Christmas wrapping to make sure that everything came out okay. Plus, my favorite, your favorite, bubble wrap. Now, the box was billed as being opened and unplayed. The images posted online seem to support that, and as I poked at it and looked at it here in the bubble wrap, I was convinced that that was true. It seems to have been opened and just sat on a shelf until now. It's a little bit of wearing around the bottom corners. As we've already seen, the top of the box is perfect, and the box has a very solid feel to it. Just love seeing that logo, Indiana Jones. And that logo brings back an awful lot of memories of excitement. Now, the system that this uses, Masterbook, I only have a little bit of experience through in its original version as TORG. Been playing that online. And we'll talk about the system more in other clips. We're just going to take a look at what's in the box. Christmas wrappings in the box. So, again, another level of being impressed. Inside the box, more bubble wrap, the Christmas paper, just to make sure nothing moved around or shifted in transit. Inside that envelope are the Masterbook cards and the original dice of the game. How often do you get a box set with the original dice? Practically never. The corners of the book have a little bit of, let's use an Avengers term, foxing around the edges, and a slightly musty scent from storage, but really an excellent find. So let's take a real look inside, not just at the box and how good it still looks, but at the game itself. Before sending it to me, the original owner packaged up the cards and the dice which came with it in this envelope, so I'm going to open it now. I really appreciate the care that was taken in making sure that this game arrived in my hands in the same condition in which it left the original owners. I mean, that's nice to see. So, the original dice, these speckled 2d10, interesting that I rolled doubles, reminiscent of the possibility die or the probability die from TORG, but instead of, in that case, being a d20, 2d10. The cards are here, and they detail, well, things like initiative, changing attributes, introducing like plot hooks and subplots, things like that. We'll talk about them later. Now the Black Book, Masterbook, this is their generic system, which, as I flip through it, of course, reminds me primarily of TORG. And there are, there's art inside about investigation, there's fantasy art, there's horror art, there's clear science fiction art. I mean, they were definitely going for some kind of generic universal role-playing system of some kind using their own house system. Now, this is not the D6 system. Like I said, it most clearly reminds me of TORG, but with changes such as to what dice you use and how hands work. The other book, the World of Indiana Jones book, is the setting book for using Masterbook with this licensed product. And some of the licensed products that came along with this series had also appeared for the TSR version. So I've got the screen en route, has the same title, the same art, and apparently the same contents as the TSR version, but just in this system. So that's interesting to me. It's filled with black and white art, large readable font, and of impressive timeline, actually, that I was flipping through earlier. And the stat blocks are pretty easy to use, and it doesn't look like it would take very long to get up and running with this game. That said, the way that Masterbook plays, or like TORG plays before it, is definitely a learning curve. It's not simply just roll some dice and go with the results. It's a little more complicated than that. The basic Masterbook character sheet looks like this. Pretty simple and clean. So a lot of things for you to fill in. I tend to prefer generic character sheets that have all the skills listed, but I understand why they aren't. If you notice at the bottom, the bonus chart. So there's your die roll on 2d10, and then it gives you a bonus number, and it's the bonus number that you're actually paying attention to. So in a simple case, you have the value of your attribute, you have the level of your skill, those add together, any specializations you might have, any modifiers that you might have, and that gives you a total for your skill value for that roll. Then you roll the 2d10 and compare that to the chart, and that tells you the effect of how successful or unsuccessful you may have been. So as an example from the world of Indiana Jones, a typical seductress spy, to use this character, you're simply looking at this number and then adding in any special modifiers or whatnot that might occur in play. So fast in some areas, seems a little slow in other areas. As you play, the speed will pick up. Having the reference right on the sheet for how the dice rolls are interpreted definitely speeds things up. Obviously, with licensed products and games which kind of vanished without much impact, there has to be a reason why games go. I mean, how many units needed to be sold to justify or even pay for the license is one thing, and how hard is it to actually make a dent in the buying habits of the gamers of the day. As fantastic as your game might be, everybody might really, really, really be into playing werewolves or whatever at that particular moment, and there's just not enough signal to get through all that furry noise. So, Masterbook didn't really survive. In terms of reviews online, it doesn't really get a bad reputation. Neither does it get a glowing reputation. The people that took the time to figure out how to use it, and I don't mean that it takes a lot of time to learn how to use it, I just mean the people who actually bothered to learn how the game plays instead of how they think it plays, they speak well of it. And it's to those people that I tend to listen when I'm investigating new games that I'm interested in learning. Now, I'll go through it myself. I'll take the time to understand what was intended and how that actually plays out, and see if it matches my goals for this kind of game. Either way, really is nice to see this game, see inside the box. I only remember seeing it on a shelf once and wondering what they did with the property. And even if I only end up using it as some kind of Indiana Jones style resource, it was well worth the price. But I think I'll just enjoy playing it for what it is. I'm certainly enjoying TORG, and there's no reason why this version of what grew out of those rules wouldn't satisfy me also.